Purdue wins 92-86 over Alabama. Zach Edey was a one-man wrecking crew. He just said, "You get thrown out of the game. You get thrown out of the game. It doesn't matter who you're going to put on me. I'm going to make you foul me. I'm going to hit all my free throws, and you can't do anything about it. Welcome to Big Ten country, Alabama. This is what Big Ten teams have been dealing with for all this time." Not to take anything away from Purdue, Frank. Obviously, Purdue's a great team, but this is what we've been dealing with. Frank, what are your thoughts?
Toronto is Big Ten country now.
Well, I mean, it is Zach Edey's hometown, so it was for that game. Maybe
they bred him for Big Ten country.
I did see pictures of the crowd, and it did look pretty one-sided. Yeah, I don't think many Alabama fans made it out there. And Nate Oates even said in the press conference that it was basically a true road game for him, which to me kind of sounded like a little bit of a cop out, a little bit of an excuse, which you don't expect from Nate Oates. But yeah, I mean, the big story in that game was just, who saw Alabama with a 72% 3-point attempt rate. Like 72% of their shots were 3-pointers in that game. I think it was 46 threes they took. They hit 13 or 14 going into halftime. But this morning I pulled data from every game played so far this season, which at the time was 3,362. That was the highest 3-point attempt rate yet this season out of 3,300 games. So, that's just an insane clip. And they were hitting them. They were hitting a lot of them. And guys who don't make many threes or haven't shot many threes. The gentleman's name, Grant Nelson, right? Purdue did a really good job of not panicking when he started 2 for 2. He's traditionally not a shooter. He finished the game 2 for 7, but really hats off to Mark Sears. It just seemed like he didn't miss. And when I look at the box score and see he went 8 for 16 from 3, I mean, I would have thought he went 14 for 16 in that game. It just he wasn't missing. But really, I mean, you said Zach Edey was kind of the storyline. I would challenge that and maybe put Braden Smith in there. Because sure. his pick and roll readability in that game was at a level I haven't seen before. I mean, he attacked all sorts of different coverages. He passed out of hedges. He drove to the basket when they played weak coverage on him. He did a really good job of kind of calling for rescreens when they're playing drop coverage and finding his own shot. And he just played within the game there's a little bit of a stretch in the second half where he was kind of looking to force him up there. But really just a tremendous performance from him. I mean, he blew my mind in that game, honestly. I went back and rewatched it. It was just elite in terms of his reading ability. But a game of runs, Bama got up early 8-0. Purdue went out to 14-4 run after that, and didn't take their lead till midway through the second half. But ultimately, they did what they needed to do to pull out the win. And it's a game that got my heart rate going a little bit. But honestly, happy to get the win and get out of there because Alabama's a really good team. They've been on the losing end of a couple close games, Ohio State aside. But yeah, really happy to get out of there with that win for sure.
Don't bring up Ohio State, Frank. We'll talk about them later. Don't worry. Yeah, no, I agree. And that was going to be the second thing I brought up after you were done is don't sleep on Braden Smith. Now, Mr. Go Right all the time, but he goes right because it's right for him and he, he makes it happen. So you can't really complain that much when he's able to do that. And him and Edey, they're so unstoppable together when they're gelling and they're working. Some teams like Northwestern have done some things. I know I said I wouldn't bring it back up, Frank. I'm sorry, but they've done some things here and there to really mess with him. But I mean, game in and game out, Braden Smith has been solid all season long. He's made that jump that you've wanted him to make to really excel not only his game, but the game of this entire team. Shaps, what were some of your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, we know Edey is going to get his 25 to 35 points. There's not a whole lot you can do to stop him. But what makes them so dangerous is when either Braden Smith or Fletcher Lawyer also go off in the game, and then they're pretty much unstoppable when they have two guys like that. And that's kind of the story for most teams too. Like you can have one guy go off, in this case Mark Sears did for Alabama, but you really do need two guys in these high level games to be able to win. Yeah, I mean, Edey, 11 of 11 at the free throw line too, I thought was incredible. He played 37 minutes. I don't know how you play 37 minutes when you're that big. That seems impossible to me. But I mean, that's a credit to him. I also it's interesting to watch him this year. He's playing with so much more emotion. Like he's actually like talking smack to other teams. Like he's yelling at the crowd, getting them going. Like he was always like this shy, reserved kid, like in the past few years, like just kind of lumbering along. Now he's become like a vocal leader of that team. I'm sure winning National Player of the Year boosts your confidence a little bit, but I think it's fun to see him, you know, like really come alive. Like after a dunk and one, he's screaming into the crowd and stuff like that. So I think that's really good to see if you're Purdue. Yeah, Bama, they shot 41% from three and still lost. It's pretty remarkable. But like I said, that's what Purdue is going to do to you. Like when multiple guys have huge games like that, or at least one guy additional to Edey, because you always know he's going to have a big game. They're really, really hard to stop.
Yeah, and I you know, last season I kind of watched hating Purdue every single week. And this season I just decided give up, just watch and enjoy a really, really good basketball team. Because last season, I kid you not, I watched every game and I just like, I was just upset every single game. I was like, stop this game. Because they were just so unstoppable in so many games. But I kind of just like made this mental, I don't know, a decision in my mind that like, I'm just going to watch Purdue this year and just enjoy good basketball, a dominating physical player that cannot be stopped, and evolution of players. I mean, that's what I've enjoyed from seeing Purdue all year long. I've also enjoyed the stuff you mentioned about Edey and his emotion and kind of coming more into himself, like you said there, Shaps. But just like the entire team elevating around him, because Edey has turned into, not that he wasn't last year, but I feel like he's become more of it, elevating the entire team as well as not only himself. And I think that's a testament to his game, and also what Matt Painter is doing as well. Matt Painter doesn't get enough credit for what's going on here. Frank, you got any final thoughts before we wrap up this game?
No, I also have seen the the emotional uptick from Edey, and I'll be honest, I don't know how I feel about it. Just because it feels really dumb when you lose, because he did a lot of that against Northwestern too. So I mean, I'm a fan of like speak softly and carry a big stick, right? Just let what happens on the court. But I think that, you know, Braden's kind of that way too. He was definitely that way in high school. If you watch his high school footage, he was a big smack talker as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm surprised no one brought up any fouls. There's been a lot of controversy about Edey had committed 40 fouls in that game or whatnot. But I'm
over it. Yeah, there's no use complaining about it anymore. He gets treated very, very differently. I don't envy the refs. You can call a foul on him every play, or you can call a foul, against him on every play. It's just is what it is at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of the recipe to defend Edey is just to play him really physically, and whether that includes fouling or just, like we saw Tennessee, that felt like defended him really well without fouling him. But I definitely seemed like Alabama was fouling, and what's his name? Nick Pringle should have gotten his fifth foul like 5 minutes before he did, because he came through with a block that like hit Caleb first in the head. So I felt like Edey would have gotten a few more points, but like I'm kind of beyond that point too, where I'm just like he did get away with a couple travels, but I went back and watched it, and I felt like he did a good job of not really being too physical. He did get hit with the hook and hold in that game, but yeah, it was. I mean, that, like I said, I don't think a game had got my heart rate going quite like that one. To see Alabama hit threes at the clip that they did and still be in the game the entire time was just crazy. But we've seen Purdue win different types of games, and I think that that's just going to bode well if Purdue is fortunate enough to make it to the postseason. There's no guarantees. So
if they do make it to the postseason.
Yeah. Just I'm not having that assumption right now.
Okay, all right. I don't feel about Purdue's postseason hopes like I feel about Michigan State's. I'll just make that clear really fast.
No.
Thanks for listening to the Big Ten Huddle. Please do like and subscribe. We appreciate that. If this was your first time listening, we are the Big Ten Huddle. We cover all things Big Ten football and basketball. We have a long episode every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, all at 9 o'clock. So come in, check us out, get in the chat, let us know what you're thinking. We would love to have you join us and learn more about the Big Ten.